Without spiritualizing it, I believe I am a divine being now. I didn't believe that before. I didn't understand that before. I wasn't exposed to that information before. It's only through the 17 years that I've come to the conclusion that, you know what, I'm something special, and so is everyone else on the planet. I've got to tell you, I can't take any credit. I really can't take any credit. It's like a huge process. It's like me being guided. You know, I guess the only credit I can take is submitting to the guidance, submitting to the intuition that comes through. I've messed up so many times in these 17 years, big time. And I've learned from every single time. I've learned from other people's mistakes. And I'm not very clever, and I'm not a scientist, and I don't try to be that. I don't try to know much. In fact, I try and keep as much out of my head as possible. I challenge and I trigger people. That's my job, my role on this earth. To get out of this system, to get the freedom that everyone wants, everybody complains about. To get that, you need to break out of this system, break out of this box, break out of this open prison that we're in. And to do that, you have to endure pain. It's not going to be easy. I don't deal with random Joe blogs. I get emails from people asking me questions. I don't answer them because I don't know them. I only deal with people that I feel have been sent to me and they have that connection. You know, this parasitical thing you was talking about, I can tell you it's a lazy bastard. It doesn't want to be in a body that's active, that's vigorously active, that's vigorously, aggressively healthy, that's taking aggressive steps to cleanse their being. A lot of time the work starts with me even before they see me. When they come into contact with me, I can almost feel whatever's in them screaming and squirming. It knows the time's up and it knows that they're going to get evicted. I'm not a leader of other people, I'm a leader of myself. I'm an expert of myself. What I can do for other people is I can share my experiences, which probably very few people have ever experienced before in their lives, or may never even come to experience in their lifetime. So I can share those experiences to help people move forward in their lives, to get the freedom they need from the matrix, from the system. I don't believe people can be leaders of the masses at all. I feel that's another distraction. I feel that once you get in a group, I believe things get corrupted and distorted. I believe in each one teach one.
Genesis, you here?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, dear.
Hello?
Oh, yes.
Hello.
We
Do you hear us well?
Hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Hey there, how are you doing?
Stephen, sorry, how you doing?
Good. Great to have you on. We did take a break with our show here as well since the summer, I think. We haven't had anybody on, so we're kind of excited to get back into it. And with a guest like you, I mean, that's just great.
I'm totally overwhelmed being on this show because it's a big show. You got all these big superstar speakers and stuff, and then you got me, and then you got me. So I'm like, uh-oh, what do they want to talk to me for? But yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so just good day, everyone, and thanks for joining our OpThinkTeam radio. And it's the first show, like Stefan mentioned, this year, 2017. And we are very happy to have very, very special guest tonight, a person who inspired me personally throughout so many years already, a person who walks the talk and lives by the example of self, a person who is a living example of the humanity we all can be. In fact, we all carry some beautiful magical powers in us, not we are aware of them. So I am more than happy to introduce you this wonderful being tonight, Sunfire. And Genesis Sunfire is a life coach, public speaker, teacher, professional trainer, former rugby player, artist, life philosopher. And Genesis practices breatharianism and body cleanses. He is a living proof that we can be living without food and sustain ourselves fully if we only will start listening to our own temples, our bodies. In wonderful works he does, talks and books he writes, Genesis shares with us all. He talks about the food addiction humanity is suffering from, the damage we are making to our bodies, to our minds and spirit. So Genesis, it's a huge pleasure to have you on today, and we have been trying to contact you for more than 4 years already, and it just happened so that we managed to arrange this show only now, which in my view, the way it just happened, we got in touch. It's just so magical, and I have been doing myself a huge cleanse now, and this, half past of the year, and somehow I strongly believe that it could have been a huge reason that since my own energy field got cleaner, I was able to maybe attract my dreams to happen quicker. So thank you once again for joining, and it's a huge gift for us and our listeners.
Well, thank you. I've got to correct you though. I've got to burst your bubble. I don't do the breatharian thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if you're aware of that. I also can't take credit for your success, because at the end of the day, you stepped up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You stepped up. So yeah, what's your feedback on that?
Well, actually, it was like I was trying to contact you, huge amount of time, and I was very inspired by your work because it truly resonated with you, how you talk about inspiration and how a body goes through that journey, that evolution itself, and that truly resonated with me because I felt similar things. But I don't know, I wasn't able to attract to my show just to get in contact with you because maybe that wasn't a timing or something like that. I feel myself, and only now after I do myself that cleansing on my body, I maybe open those, I don't know how to say that, maybe portals or something in myself, that I was able to attract such a beautiful being like you to come to our show to explain how you go through that process and to share your experience with ourselves. So maybe if you say about breatharianism, maybe you can share what evolution stage you are now. Maybe you would love to share how you're feeling now, what are you doing now in terms of cleanses.
As far as the breatharian thing goes, I had to step forward for myself, and I had to explore. I've always seen myself as the explorer or the pioneer. Everybody else put the label of breatharian on me.
Mm-hmm.
It was often very hard for me to deal with because I saw myself as the explorer. I was just finding my way. I wasn't going on a crusade for humanity. I wasn't going on a crusade. I wasn't volunteering to be a martyr for everybody else. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I did it for me. I did it for me. And I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be everything that you just spoke of, Christina. I wanted to be everything for me. So I'm the kind of guy that I'm willing to do that at all costs. Doesn't matter what. I do what I want to do in my heart of hearts. So the whole breatharian thing came after several years of fruitarianism, which I just ate fruits. I had many, it was an up and down journey, going back and forth to cook food and fruits and cleansing, and that gradual transition through those years to eating less and less and less. And you have to understand, again, I use the word pioneer. I knew absolutely nothing of anything when it came to these things, when it came to the fruitarian. I just jumped into it because it felt like the right thing to do for me. And it felt like the right steps to take. I had to learn how to take each step by myself. There was nobody guiding me. There was nobody telling me what to do. There was nobody making suggestions. I had to live and learn every step. So if you imagine every step takes about a year to make, I had to spend every day, every minute, every hour learning my trade, learning how to take that step, learning how to complete that step. And within that year, I might have had to have dealt with people's aggression, people's negativity, people's skepticism, people just, just being shocked at the thought of what I wanted to do for myself. So that basically was the whole breatharian thing. And again, through that period, I made many mistakes, and I lived and I learnt. And I learnt by those mistakes, and I was able to move forward in spite of the attacks from people that didn't understand, uneducated people. And I was one of them. I was uneducated too. But, within the whole breatharian journey, it's like a maze. If you don't go in the right direction, someone else will distract you and send you off course. Yeah. So you've got to be a really strong individual to stay on your course, to your instinct, your intuition, and your guides or whatever things you feel are directing you. So it was a very traumatic time. It really wasn't a nice time to follow the whole breatharian thing. And then that went on to the liquidarian, which was a little bit easier, which is just having, for me, it was just having orange juice. And then that was when I was introduced more to the breatharian side of things. And again, you're being a pioneer. You're learning, you're going ahead of everybody else. At the same time, everybody else is trying to throw sticks and stones at you. So it's a very confusing thing as far as society goes. But again, you have to stay strong and resolute in your passion, in your discipline, in your dedication to be a better person for yourself. And in fact, all the attacks, as they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So all the attacks, all the people trying to distract you, all the people trying to put you on a pedestal, those things, if approached correctly, and if you've nurtured over the years a positive mindset, a positive and open mindset, those things can actually teach you a hell of a lot. So what I found with the breatharian, after maybe 2 or 3 years of being a public figure, and I was probably doing it for another 2 years without anybody even knowing. So what I learned in the 2 or 3 years doing it as a public figure was that the whole breatharian thing is it doesn't exist. It's just someone's story. Mm-hmm. It's a bunch of people's fantasy that you can do this food free and water free thing permanently.
Yeah.
Permanently.
Yeah. That's that's the biggest skepticism that when I talk some of my friends or whatever and just tell people about that, it's like, but how how is it possible? I mean, we come out of the body, and the first thing we need is some sort of it's air, is right, but then the second thing is some sort of liquid.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. We come out of the mother's womb, and we need breast milk. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And one of the things that I learned about the whole breatharian thing, and I really don't like using the word breatharian, so when I use it in the tech context of it's a scam. It doesn't exist. But what I learned about that concept is that, like I said, it's based on other people's story. It's not a modern story. It's not something that people are actually doing and proving. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
While
Because
we're in this
I've
skepticism realm here, just a question: how long was the longest that you went without anything
well,
until
let
it?
me finish. Let me
Oh
finish.
yeah, sure.
I always said that nobody's gonna test you forever until you die, because that's what someone would need to do if they were to prove that you were doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, you can fast for a very long time, but the whole breatharian thing, in my experience, doesn't exist because it cannot be permanent. Your body always needs something, and that's why we produce saliva. We produce saliva, and our body creates so many things by itself. You know what I mean? But I learned that you have to take care of your body. Your body just doesn't do this stuff for no reason and by itself. You have to go out and seek air. You have to go out and seek water. You have to go out and seek sugar. You have to go out and seek fats. You know what I'm saying
Yeah.
to you? The body just does not do this stuff by itself permanently. You need to give it something at some point in time. So that's one of the main things that I learned. And as I was learning in the whole breatharian thing, is that I'm learning step by step. So I'm trying desperately not to claim the label of breatharian, because in my mind, I haven't reached the goal yet. You know what I'm saying to you? And once you put yourself in on the pedestal as being a breatharian, everybody thinks, right, your journey's done. You know everything, your journey's done, and we're going to ask you a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for me, that was just a very hard thing to deal with. It was very flattering for the ego, having all these people demanding your presence and, putting you up on a pedestal and asking you these questions and saying you're this and you're that. But to be honest with you, I never liked it because I felt I wasn't where I wanted to be. I hadn't been successful because like I said, I was still learning, and along the way I was learning that things aren't what people say they are. So I have to investigate why it isn't what they say that it is. And I realized that along the way I still had to cleanse, and the pressure when you have the label put as breatharian put upon you is that, when I started in my day, what breatharianism was, you don't eat and you don't drink. Right? So, which is a lot different now. The definition's been stretched so far now. It's incredible. But in my day, you don't drink and you didn't eat. So it was very difficult for me to bring the cleansing back in that I needed to do because of this breatharian title. Because in my mind, okay, if I do my cleansing techniques, then that means I'm not breatharian, and that means I'm a fake, and that means I'm cheating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that brings its own pressure. So I had to deal with that. Those, that sort of thing you don't need when you're on your own journey.
Yeah, sure.
And you know what I'm saying? So, the whole breatharian thing is a lot of the guys that are claiming to be the gurus are doing that, but they're not telling you.
Right, and they feed
Yeah,
on that
indeed.
praise that they get directly, and that's not you, and that's
You can make a good living from it. You can make a good income from it. Seriously, it's a business. Breatharianism is a business.
No.
You know what I mean? It is a business. It's a big business. People don't want to hear the truth. People don't want to learn, and they don't want to actually live it. And that's the big problem. So the whole breatharian thing is you have a bunch of people that are basically fasting. If they're genuine people, they're actually fasting. They're actually doing intermittent fasting. The good ones are. The not so good ones with less integrity are just faking. Period. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the feedback from their own supporters, from their own fans. You know what I'm saying? From people that have gone to their workshops, from people that have met them, from people that have spent time with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And you will never hear them tell anybody that that they've made mistakes. But I know,
Yeah.
I know that you know, to actually live it.
Mm-hmm.
I did it for about you know, it's been so long, my memory is fading me. So I'm not so clear on the time scales and stuff anymore. Plus, to be honest with you, I just don't, that stuff's not important to me. Time scales and stuff is not important to me. And that's another thing that I learned on the journey as well, is you know, there's a lot of pressure to a lot of pressure and competition to be doing X amount of days or X amount of months or X amount of years. And it just doesn't go like that.
Yeah,
It
that's
just
only
doesn't-
mind, I guess, talking. You know, mind likes to count everything, and it likes to count, you know, days, how long have you been not eating, but it's, you know, process going through your spirit, like it's like never began and never will end. So you can't just count them like days or anything like that.
Well,
you know.
my experience was, I mean, you're right. My experience was people were the problem. People that weren't living it were the problem. Because they keep asking, it's, you know, they keep asking you, well, how long have you done? How many days and how many?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't need that when you're struggling to get through. You know what I'm saying? Because this is actually not possible. You're trying to do something that nobody else can do because it's not possible. Based on someone else's fantasy or story from God knows when. You know what I mean? And it's only, gosh, it was only probably 3 years ago that I really started to come to the conclusion that, okay, because like I said, I went forward, I went ahead to find out. And then it, you know, when I found out that, okay, this probably is someone else's story. By that time, I was literally having adrenal fatigue. I was literally burnt out. You know what I mean? I got to the point where I was severely depressed. Because it's an awful experience to have the weight of so many people on your shoulders. You know, trying to do something that is basically impossible, and then a bunch of people jump on your bandwagon because they want to make you the poster boy for it. So basically, you have to go through that for them before they want to do it. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a lot of pressure. And I found that people were lying about me. They were saying things that I wasn't doing to make it better, to make it sound better. And I had to correct a lot of people. So the good people were lying about me, saying that I was better than I was. The crappy people, the negative people were lying about me, saying that I was doing stuff I wasn't doing. You know what I'm saying? So it was very difficult to walk my own path. Very difficult. So to answer your question, Stefan, I was doing the whole breatharian thing for about 2 to 3 years, solid. And in amongst that 2 or 3 years, periodically I was doing water flushes, saltwater flushes. And it was those salt water flushes that I believe actually kept me in the game, that actually saved me for later. Otherwise, I think if I was really trying to force it through, I would either be dead or I would have severe adrenal fatigue. I strongly believe that.
Hmm. Like, what can you tell us? What happened to your body in the time, and then of course, once it happens to the body, it kind of reflects in the mind. So kind of from the start of that time, what did you notice, and when was it enough for you? And
From what time?
when you like basically ate nothing and just did salt water
Oh,
flushes.
I shrank. I shrank. I went long periods without eating or drinking.
Mhm.
Long periods. And I literally, the only thing I had was my saliva. So I had to learn about temperatures. I had to learn about getting out of the sun. I had to learn about not being too active for too long. I had to learn about staying away from negative people because I would dry up very quickly. If I was around negative people, I would just dry up very quickly.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? To where I don't have any saliva. And then I would have to wait several hours to start to regain saliva.
Wow.
And in between that time, you're in recovery. But, you know, life still goes on. You know, my stomach shrank. My intestine shrank. Very uncomfortable situation. Very uncomfortable transition. And again, you don't know what the hell is going on. You don't know what the hell to expect because nobody is telling the truth. Nobody's done it. You know what I mean? Forever. Nobody's done it forever. So nobody knows at the end of the day. You know what I mean? What to expect or what's going to happen. So, yeah, you know, I had to really be strong and I had to really be conscious and mindful because I was very much aware that maybe I wasn't in the right environment to actually do what I wanted to do. And actually, my path got hijacked by the whole breatharian thing. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Mhm.
It got hijacked. It got hijacked. I wanted to be a better person. I didn't tell anybody I wanted to be a breatharian. I wanted to be a better person. And I went through the levels. I went through the stages from fruitarian to liquidarian and on to breatharian. I didn't even want to be a breatharian. Because I saw people like Jasmine. I saw, well, at the time there was only Jasmine, but I didn't want to do that. I enjoyed fruits too much. But that's where I was going. And because I was going in the arena of fasting, there was no fasting community. The next community, or the closest community to fasting, were these so-called breatharians. So that's where I went to. So when I told people, oh, well, I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat that much. Oh, well, you're a breatharian. Oh, okay. So I started to look them up and I thought, okay, well, these guys seem quite close to what I want to do. So let me, you know what I mean? And that's how I got pulled into that. But actually, looking back on it now, I realized that I was getting pulled into the fasting aspect of things, not permanent breatharianism. You understand what I'm saying? Because you even look at the term breatharianism, it's absolutely ridiculous. Because we produce saliva. So if breatharianism is true and the term is accurate, then everybody's a fake because we produce saliva. We produce 2.5 or 1 liter of saliva per day. So that would make us fakes by default.
Salivanism.
You know what I mean? So spittinism. You know what I mean? So, or spit fasting. I call it spit fasting. But you know what I'm saying? No, if I really look at everything now, I can just break it all down. It just does not exist. It's not logical. It's not logical, but there's people that can really make a beautiful story out of it. They can make it so spiritual. They can go back to the ancient days of ancient this, ancient that.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that I see now is that there's nobody, there's nobody actually thinking. They're just listening to the story, and maybe they're getting sucked into it the same way I was, because I was going towards more the fasting. The fasting where you maybe you don't eat for 2-3 days, but then you have a couple of bananas, after 3-4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do it again. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, because that's actually how I believe we are supposed to be. I don't believe we're supposed to eat anywhere near the amounts that we eat. Even the raw food people, even the fruitarians. You know what I mean? And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to go 2-3 days without eating, maybe on juice or whatever, but I didn't want this constant supply of food.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to go 2-3 days without. And that's what I wanted to do. I remember it clearly. But then I got pulled into the whole breatharian thing, and I got seduced by all the razzmatazz and the mystique, and I thought, well, let me go ahead and see what this thing is about, because it may be for me. It sounds wonderful. It may be for me, because I want to be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not a real thing. And I've always said you can go food and water free, but it's not permanent. It's fasting. It's fasting at the end of the day. It's the same with when people talk about dry fasting. There's no such thing as dry fasting, simply because we produce saliva. So there's no such thing as dry fasting. So, and as much as it bursts people's bubble and it makes life a lot less glamorous, there's no such thing as breatharianism, in my opinion. Even the term is outdated, because now from what I believe, the breatharianism, the definition has been stretched to now include food. So people are really trying to cash in on this thing now. In this day and age, there's for me there's no the whole ancient philosophy thing doesn't carry any weight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because on top of everything else, we are not ancient. We're not living in ancient times. We're living in modern times. So we can't even go back to the ancient days and try and do what they did, because life is a lot different. They didn't have Wi-Fi back in those days, back in the ancient days. You know what I mean? Where the yogis used to sit on mountaintops just sipping on mountain dew from the grass.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying to you? They didn't have Wi-Fi. They didn't have internet. They didn't have the EMFs that we have these days. They didn't have chemtrails. They didn't have all the heavy metals in it. They didn't have to deal with all of this stuff. They didn't have GMOs.
Yeah.
They didn't have the chemicals that we have. You know what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, even those traumas we carry from childhood, from all the society we have, and they didn't have those things.
Exactly. So the whole breatharian thing, when you really think about it, is very much flawed, and it's not. It's just a nice story. It's a nice fairy tale, and for me, that's what I found out. It's just a nice fairy tale. I also found out that people, like I said before, people don't want to hear the truth about it. They really don't want to hear the truth about it. They want to live in this fairy tale where they can, stretch the definition, call themselves breatharians, and be super spiritual, and all be together, wanting the same thing, but not being able to do it, and not wanting to do the work on themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's a very long time. And that's just to get to the point where you can fast. where you can intermittent fast. A lot of people they still contact me because they think I'm the breatharian. They haven't heard of me in a while, so they still think I'm breatharian, blah blah blah, and they contact me. And I always tell them, you're already where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
You're already where you need to be. All you need to do is just fruitarian, and you're already where you need to be. But people are struggling to do that, and they're struggling because it takes a long time, and people are not willing to invest 10 to 15 years to fully transition.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? They want to do it in a month. They want to do it in 2 weeks. But it actually, for me, it takes years to not only transition physically, but transition mentally. To transition mentally, to purge all your emotional childhood stuff, to purge all your parents' emotional childhood stuff that they've put on you, the old programming, all that stuff. It takes years. And especially if you're in a relationship, you got to hold on, because your relationship might not last if you're doing it together, or if one of you's doing it and the other one's not, because there's so much crap that you've got to go through, that you've got to detox and purge. Like I said, not only physically, but emotionally. The physical part's the easy part. It's the emotional part that's the kicker.
Yeah.
You understand? Especially if you don't have a good mentor, teacher, or guide. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and it's so traumatic and destructive. You know, because I put myself out there to help people for many years, for several years, and it's just been heartbreaking to see what people have had to go through emotionally and physically, and to see that there's nobody out there none of these gurus are responsible enough, because they're dealing with their own crap. Most of these gurus are too busy dealing with the marketing their own business, marketing their own company, marketing their own selves. You know what I mean? Worrying about business, worrying about an income, worrying about money, to even bother working on themselves. Yes, they make themselves sound great, but that's all the marketing.
Yeah.
But they've got crap to deal with too. They got crap to deal with too, and I know most of them don't do it. They don't do it, and most of them don't even know where to start. But they feel that they've done enough to go and teach other people, to tell people what to do and what not to do. And we've all done it. We can all talk a good game. We've all done it. But when it comes to us, we make mistakes, or we don't see our mistakes. You understand what I'm saying to you? We get into trouble when it comes to us, but we can give great advice. And to me, that's not good enough, because this is a very serious issue. This is a very serious issue. You know, changing your molecular structure, changing your DNA, you're recovering yourself. You're recovering the quality of your life. In fact, your life depends upon your success. And your success depends upon having a great guide, having support, having help. Society's not going to help you. Society's not going to support you. You've got to do this by yourself. If you're lucky, you might have a supportive boyfriend or girlfriend. If you're lucky, you might have supportive family members. But I've seen too much. I've seen too much. I've seen where families have disowned the person because they don't want to eat meat. Where they don't even talk to the daughter or the son because they don't want to eat meat. That's how deep it can go for some people. I've heard stories where families have put the person that wants to go raw, or that wants to make themselves better, or wants to be fruitarian, into a mental institution.
Yeah.
It can get deep for some of us. It's a serious issue. And the gurus that people go to, they're just not responsible. They're just not responsible. And it's literally all about the money. It's all about, oh yeah, I say something nice to you, you pay me money, and then you go about your business. Because who's going to check up years down the line to see whether you've become a fruitarian or not? Nobody. Who's going to check up to see if the advice was correct or not? Nobody. Because there is no guidelines, there is no structure, there is no governing body that says, right, you are now a fruitarian. Yes, you are doing this safely by certain standards. There is nothing. So this is a very important issue, and I never liked it because I came into this without the knowledge of the New Age movement or community, or the raw food New Age community, or the fruitarian New Age community. I came in as a kid from London, from the black community, just a regular kid off the street. And I thought, okay, I'm seeing all these people. Well, this guy seems good. This guy seems to know what they're doing. This guy seems to know what they're doing. Okay, let me ask them. And they were no better than me. And these were the top gurus. And I could sense that in my body, in my mind, that these guys were no better than me. These guys had their own problems. They're just as messed up as I am. So you know what? Let me... it to me by the things they told me. I was like, okay, this isn't what I would expect from an experienced guru, shall we say. Right? So I knew, okay, I'm by myself here. You guys still there?
Yeah. Following.
Yep.
I just also wanted to ask you about the fasting, and even the word fasting is related to time, going faster. Do you hear us?
Do you hear
We
us?
lost Genesis.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Hear us?
awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
There
So
he is.
before breaking, I just wanted to ask you about fasting, and accelerating of things, because even the word fasting, relates to that going faster. And like you just mentioned, all those time things don't even, impact us anymore. Like we just go so faster, and even the things we attract are faster, and we just are, I don't know, just going into ourselves and are experiencing everything in different time frames, as if not being eaten by that chronos, allegory, so to speak. And we are not growing old the as fast as we, would go old when we're eating foods, So that would be interesting to ask you about fasting, and how time frames shift in yourself, in your feelings and your body too.
Okay. Is that a question for now?
Yeah, it would be very interesting to ask, because it really relates to the things you are just now telling us and your story.
Okay. Well, let me just finish off what I was saying, and then we'll shoot on to that. That's a good question. Yeah, the whole scene, as far as people wanting to make themselves better, it's really flawed, because people that are in place to teach, a lot of them are not responsible enough, and a lot of them haven't really dug deep into their own issues, and a lot of them are using their work as actual therapy for them. So that's what I've found. So I've thought to myself, okay, then let me work on myself. I just have to do the whole Rocky thing and go into the mountains and the snow and get my stuff together. You know what I'm saying? So that's my beef with the health community, especially the raw health community. When it comes to the fasting, there is nothing out there. Absolutely nothing out there. Now, I believe that because of my influence, fasting has kind of grown a little bit, and more people are experimenting with it. And I think that's based on the breatharian thing and people seeing what I did with it, where I took it. So now there's more people talking about fasting now, because a lot of people try to strive for breatharianism, but they fell short, or they believe they fell short. But actually, fasting is breatharianism.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In a
Yeah.
sense. In a sense. Fasting to me is it's the key. It is actually fasting to me is where we would be if we didn't have the addictions.
Yeah.
But that's the key word, addictions. That's what gets in the way. The fact that we have addictions actually is what gets in the way. And that's what makes fasting seem so far away for many, many people. And it's not only the physical addictions to certain ingredients, it's actually the emotional addictions. You know, it's the old program, it's the old, the whole addiction to negativity. It's the whole being ungrounded and the effects and symptoms of being ungrounded.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that get in the way of fasting, and that what makes fasting seem so light years ahead. But actually, it's where we should have been. It's where we should be. Fasting should be our default setting. We should be able to go days without food, just like the animals do. Animals fast.
Mm-hmm.
We should be able to go days without food, looking for food until we find it. And that might take a couple of days. It might take a couple of days traveling, walking the earth to find a stream. Depending on where you are. It might take a couple of days to find an apple tree. You know what I mean? Naturally. And the thing is, it's not like, you're traveling around and you find a tree and you find one tree with all kinds of different fruits on it. No, if you find a fruit tree, you'll find that there's one type of fruit around that tree. It might be an apple tree, and you'll find that, okay, there's a whole bunch more apple trees. You might find an orange tree, and then you'll realize, okay, there's a whole bunch more orange trees. You understand? So usually, obviously depending on your location, you're not always guaranteed a vast selection of fruits. So fasting to me is where we should be by default. That should be our default setting, and it should not seem so, light years ahead of the game, because it actually isn't. Actually isn't. What other questions do you have on the fasting?
Yeah, several times a month.
What questions do you have on the What questions do you have on the fasting?
Oh, I guess she was asking about, because fasting kind of sounds like faster, and if that has any effect on how
The only
you
fast,
perceive
the only
time.
fast,
And,
the only fast thing about it is the detox. The detox goes harder and faster. That's all. But again, that's because of our previous addictions, our previous programming. Again, most people don't really realize that they have to go through purging of the emotions, purging of the addictions. You look at, to be honest with you, even the best of us, just dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, man, it makes me want to eat. It makes me want to eat a mountain of food. You know what I mean? Just dealing with people, just being around people. So it's extremely hard to break that cycle of addiction. It's extremely hard to break the cycle of emotional programming.
Yeah.
Because the vast majority of us have mental health issues, and it's just difficult dealing with people. you know. And let's face it, even when, even when it's not difficult to deal with people, most of the times it's because they're pretending to be nice. It's because they're pretending to be positive. But in reality, when you spend enough time with them, you'll realize that they're just as messed up as you, or they're just as unhappy as you, or they're just as ungrounded as you. You know what I mean? We've all got issues to deal with, so it's very hard to deal with people. And the whole fasting thing, you have to be in a very clear place to deal with the fasting. And unfortunately, the vast majority of society is not in a clear place. So, the whole fasting thing, I don't feel that the word has any bearing on the actual process, other than, the detox might be more intense. But, you know, um, you know, like I said, it's just where we should be by default. And I really wish society would embrace that more. And I think maybe that time's coming, but at the same time, I know it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be hell to pay, because we're not set up as a society for detox, not on that level.
Yeah, sure. Also, I just wanted to touch another topic which really relates to the fasting, topic we are discussing now. It's, contracts we are having with foods, like with foods, with alcohol, with coffee, and all those things. They are substances themselves, alive beings too, and we are just ingesting them, using them in our lives. We are having contracts with them, and not only now we are just being and talking from ourselves, but we are just allowing those beings to talk through us. That's maybe why we have so many issues with the health of the society in general. So maybe you could share how to clean ourselves from all those contracts, how to become free, live from your core, and don't be so impacted with those energies.
Are you talking about animals, eating animals?
Animals, just food in general, of course, coffee
Okay.
too, because we know all those plants, they are entities too, so
You
we
know
are
what?
consuming them.
You know what? I don't. This is where I feel like I don't know why you want to talk to me for, because you should be asking one of the big time gurus that question, because that's just not for me. For me, when a lion eats a gazelle, he's not saying, "Oh, well, this is a being, another being, and I can't eat it because it's gonna impact my health." No, he's saying, "Right, this is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do." You know what I mean? As humans, we can do anything. We can do most things. Does it mean it's healthy? No. Because one of the things that I learned from my fruitarian days is that plants are living beings. Fruits are also living beings. Fruits are living beings as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Fruits are living beings as well.
Yeah.
Everything, you walk on the grass. Grass is, you know what I'm saying? But you're walking on it.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't think that deeply into it. Just like how a lion wouldn't think that deeply into chasing down a gazelle and eating it.
Yeah.
The thing with us humans is that you don't find lions eating Snickers bars. You don't find lions drinking coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah.
We do that crap. Right? But we can do it because we don't die instantly. It doesn't kill us instantly.
Yeah.
It addicts us.
And those addictions are, again, energy. Like, you're consuming that, and that addiction comes like contract with you.
It hooks us. It hooks us into wanting more. It hooks us into wanting more. End of story. If you want to look at it as you know, spiritual contracts and blah blah blah, that's your stuff. But for me, I just deal with the nuts and bolts of it. I have to deal with the addiction. I have to work on the addiction. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? If I want success, I have to deal with the basic stuff, the addiction. Okay, then how do I stop the addiction? How do I get away from the addiction? Everything else is just thinking too deeply on it. And even then, you don't do the job. You don't get off the addiction. Because why? You've gone way too deep and you're not thinking about the addiction. I see so many people questioning, spending so much time questioning that they could actually be using solving the problem. Thinking too much. And that's why I pride myself on calling myself a dumbass. Because I tell you, being a dumbass has saved me so much time. It saved me so much time. Questioning things that I don't need to question. I just look at what needs to be done and I focus on that. I don't think about contracts or entities or blah blah blah. I just look at what needs to be done. And I think I really don't try to get too spiritual, or I don't try to think too much. In fact, I try not to think at all. And I just do what needs to be done, and I focus on that. So the whole food thing is that anything cooked should not go into the body. Technically should not go into the body. Period. That is the problem. That is the root cause of everything. That is the root of all evil in my book, through my eyes. Yeah. Because from there, the mind goes. The mind just goes missing. The mind goes unconscious. You understand? Because from there, the addiction sets in. And then causes all kinds of stories, blah, blah. The mind makes up all kinds of stories to make sense of the feelings and sensations and blah, blah, blah. And if you're not grounded, if you are not grounded, you will go all over the place. So the key is to be grounded. That is the key, is to be grounded. So you're not looking way too high into the stars, into the sky on this. Because you need to be grounded, because we don't have time to be delving, to be jumping up into the sky, into the outer space, into all these galaxies, thinking about this and thinking about that. We need to be dealing with the problem straight away. Because, I've seen people cause so much pain not being grounded to themselves and others. If you try and help someone with an addiction and they're not grounded, oh my goodness, that person is causing so much destruction. So much destruction, because you got to go through the stories. You got to untangle all the wires just to get to what really is the problem. And that's why, you get all these mental health issues and mental health names like autism, ADD, and Asperger's and whatever. To me, that's people not being grounded. You understand what I'm saying to you? And it's a whole game. It's you're not grounded. So my thing is to stay grounded. My personal thing is to stay grounded, dealing with what needs to be dealt with. So I don't look at in that way. I just know the problem is that it's cooked, it's processed, it's got all these ingredients in it. So okay, what I need to do is work on not putting it into my body. That's what I got to work on. I don't think about nothing else, because doing that is going to be hard enough as it is because of the addiction and whatnot, right? So doing that is going to be hard enough as it is. So that's what I deal with, is that process. And then along comes the emotional stuff. Then I got to deal with that, right? And that is hard enough to deal. That's hard enough to deal with as it is. So, for me, that's how I've gotten around all these issues that can come up, is by doing my best to stay grounded, because I know my life depends upon it, and the quality of my life depends upon it. Because I've seen from other people, I've seen the mistakes other people have made. And I've seen that, okay, that's not efficient. Doing it, thinking about the cosmos when you're trying to heal your body is not efficient. Thinking about, these random things is not efficient. When you're trying to heal your body, when you're trying to emotionally heal yourself, it's not efficient. And that's where I feel that I've personally been more successful, because I've worked really hard on staying grounded. Because I went into the whole New Age thing. And it was beautiful, beautiful stories, but people were not grounded and getting into trouble and not being efficient and not getting a job done. And, I mean, if you want to talk about contracts, and if you're really serious about these contracts, then you better make sure you get a job done. These spiritual contracts, the cords, what have you, the ties, the soul ties, then you've got to make sure you get the job done. Because I'm into that stuff too, but I realize, okay, within that I have to stay grounded so I get the job done.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yep.
So the whole thing about my outlook on food and how we can cleanse is by staying grounded. And man, when you're grounded, so much clarity comes to you.
Yeah.
So much clarity comes to you, and you realize that, man, you have so much time, but you've got to spend that time working your ass off.
Yeah.
You understand? Because this is hard, Christina. This cleaning out stuff, this purging stuff, this detoxification stuff is hard.
Yeah, totally can resonate with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for lightweights. It's not for it's not for part-time. It's not a part-time job. It's a full-time job.
It's a lifestyle, you just have to, a full-time job.
Yeah, especially if you're in a relationship or if you're around other people, because you will be affecting other people. Your energy will be affecting other people, and you have to make sure you are grounded and you stay grounded. It's very difficult for most people to actually be grounded, because it's very hard. And I'll say this from experience, it's very hard to even realize that being grounded is the problem. Because a lot of us, we jump straight into the detox, the whatever, and we don't look at our emotional state first. We don't prepare ourselves for what could possibly happen.
No.
We just jump straight into what someone says because it sounds good and it makes sense. And that's because the person that told you hasn't prepared and told you, oh no, you've got to prepare. No, they're telling you, yeah, it's okay to just jump in, because they haven't done the work and they're not living it. So they don't have the urgency to tell you, no, stop. Have you done this? Have you done that? You know what I'm saying? So,
there's a lot of people who will experience a depression after a cleanse, after a liver flush or whatever for a few days.
Yeah. But we're talking years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're talking emotional, dealing with some emotional stuff for years.
totally.
You know what I mean? And who prepares you for that? Nobody. When I talk about it, everyone's like, oh, he's so negative, he's so hostile, he's so angry. But it's true. It's true. This is not for part-time. This is not a part-time job, especially if you're serious about your spiritual work and contracts and soul groups and soul ties and soul mates and all that stuff. You've got to make sure you do the work you came down here for. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I take my role serious as hell because I want to get the job done. And I see the job at hand. So I know, okay, it's a big job. It's a big job. And I got to make sure I get it done. I ain't got time to waste. So, you know, that's my take on the whole fasting thing, is that you've got to get to it. You've got to get to it. And it's a very slow transition. And the transition should be taken very slowly. There shouldn't be no rushing, you know, as you know, it's very, and this is the way you know people aren't grounded, is if they want to jump straight into it.
Hmm.
If they want to jump straight into the breatharianism without even looking at it, without even looking at where it stems from, where it comes from, what's the story, they're not grounded. Because, you know, they jump into these things and they cause a whole bunch of problems. They cause a whole bunch of trouble. Why? Because they're not grounded. They're not thinking. And one of the things I hold strongly to my journey is live and learn. You've got to live and learn. I tell my wife all the time, sweetheart, you got to learn your trade. Learn your trade. Learn your trade so you can do what you came here to do.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because Christina, you're a massive woman. You're a huge lady. You know what I mean? You have a mega spirit. So you've got a big job to do. But you got to make sure that you do that job and you don't spend your time struggling and flapping in the breeze.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got stuff to learn, and you can only learn that stuff if you make mistakes. You're not going to learn it by being perfect.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe you would love maybe to give some practical, just examples of the how best we can, ground our bodies and clean our bodies, because I know that you talked a lot about the chaga, salt, flushes, all, water healing and so on. So maybe you would love to give some practical examples how people could, go through that fasting and that cleansing of body.
Well, I will start from here. If you're serious about your spiritual path, then you probably believe in guides. You probably believe you have some kind of guidance, some kind of protection, a higher self or whatever. Listen to that. Listen to your higher self. Take advice from your higher self. Your higher self will connect you to what you need. Mm-hmm. For me, it was saltwater flushes. Mm-hmm. And I've done those almost exclusively. I went through a stage where I wanted to try out everything, and I nearly did, but I know at the end of the day I had to come back to the saltwater flushes. You know what I mean? Because when you're starting out, it's difficult to trust the universe or your higher self that, it knows what it's doing and it's giving you the right information. So you want to try everything else. But then I learned, okay, awesome. My higher self or the universe, it did me good, and I've got to go back to the saltwater flushes, because for me, nothing else worked. Nothing else. In fact, everything else blocked me up. So that's the biggest piece of advice I would give anybody is, if you take this spiritual stuff serious, listen to your guides. Look at what comes to you. Start to learn the pattern of how you get your messages. And that's how you can decide, okay, what you're going to do. Because once you make the decision to say, right, I'm open to this path and I'm going to set foot on this path, you better get ready for the messages. You know what I mean? You better get ready for the synchronicities.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was the saltwater flush. That was my main mode of cleansing. That's it. That's it. And raw foods, fruits. And that's it. And that's just putting in time. Putting in time, doing the best you can, not rushing, learning your trade.
Yeah.
Going back to the process when you need to, not trying to go too far too fast, but just putting in that time. For me, I did the saltwater flushes after 5 years of my journey, and at that 5-year point, I was like, I can't go any further. I'm gonna do something really stupid, because I was so toxic. And then I had the saltwater flush sent to me by my higher self or universe or whatever it is, and that was like such a relief. And
Wow.
I was able to continue. You know what I mean? But as the saltwater flush was dissolving the layers, more crap was coming. You know what I mean? So it's a continual dissolving of layers, emotional layers, physical layers in your body. You understand what I'm saying to you? And it's just being diligent with that. It's just being dedicated to that. And to be honest, there's no clear-cut path. There's no one-size-fits-all path. For me, it was about being as conscious as I could be. There was many, many, many years where I was depressed going through it all, where I didn't want to flush because my attitude sucked. There was many days like that, but you just got to be dedicated. You just got to make sure you're safe, and you got to make sure you're committed, and that once you make the decision to do it, you do it religiously, because your life depends upon it. Your quality of your life depends upon it. Because as I said before, this isn't a part-time job for lightweights. This isn't just something that you talk about at parties to make yourself look good. This is for real. This is for real. And, you want to get away from that place where you're going back and forth all the time. You want to make this as a clear-cut transition as possible. That's why I say it's got to be a slow transition. It's got to be a very slow transition. It's got to be enjoyable. You've got to make it enjoyable. Yeah. You can't be waking up in the morning thinking, oh, I don't want to do this, or oh, I've got to flush, or oh, I've got to do a liver cleanse. Oh, no, you've got to want to do it. And that's what you've got to nurture on your path, is the desire.
Yeah.
And once you do stuff like that, once you nurture your path, answers are going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? Answers are going to come to you. You're going to see cleansing methods, and something's going to resonate with you, and you'll be like, well, let me try that. That sounds cool. That's how it happens. So I don't want to say do saltwater flushes because I did it, so it's going to work for you too. No, I want to say you get a feel for what you want to do. You know what I mean? Just know that you want to cleanse. Just know that you want to detox the emotional stuff. Just know that you want to be a better person. That's the main thing. Everything else will come.
No.
Christina, did I answer that question for you or not?
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
Hey, I also saw on your Facebook page, you have those the stuff that you do with the copper pipes all over your page.
Oh, my pride and joys, man. That's
Yeah.
another thing. It's changing your environment. It's changing your environment, Stefan, because I'm in such a blessed position because I've done everything, diet-wise. I've done everything, so I know. I can talk with a lot of experience. Stefan, fruits are not enough. Fruits are not enough. In these modern times, changing your diet is not enough. Changing your diet is not enough. Even if you're fruitarian, it's not enough. And I'm telling you, Stefan, this is something I'm just finding out. This is something that the work I'm doing now on changing my wife and I's environment is teaching me now about the diet. It's not enough. Raw foods is not enough. You've got to change. You've got to change the environment also.
Yep.
It's like going to a gym, right? It's like going to a gym. You've made a New Year's resolution to change your body, lose weight, get healthier, go to the gym every day. So you go to the gym, but what are you working out on? You're working out on a treadmill that's powered by electrics. So you're getting bombarded with EMFs from that treadmill alone. So what's the point of all this, raw foods thing, going through all the depression, going through all the detox, going through all the emotional purging, when you're going to, saturate yourself with, electromagnetic fields that aren't good for you? So you got to change the environment also. And this is something that I feel that on my personal growth, spiritual path, that my higher self has sent to me, or whatever I've connected to has sent to me. This is how serious you got to be about your path, about your spiritual path. When you've been, when you've come here to do something, to do a job, you better be prepared to open up and accept what it is you got to do. So these copper things, it's like organite, and I put organite in copper pipes.
Yeah.
And I capped them off. And this is something that came to me in I don't want to say a dream because that sounds too pretentious, but it came to me at night. It came to me at night, right? To put crystals in copper pipes. It first came to me as copper pipes. I was infatuated by copper pipes for some reason, by copper. So I started to investigate that. Copper. What could I put in copper? Copper pipes. And then I learned that Egyptians used to do it.
Yeah.
They used to put quartz and zinc. And then I learned that it was actually a thing where you could actually put crystals in copper pipes, cap them off and do all kinds of stuff with them, energetic stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how it kind of started off. And then I got into the organite, and then I started researching, and then I started to look at how to make this stuff, and then I started to really look at how I could make it better. Okay, so this stuff resonates with me, this stuff works, but how can I make it mine? How can I make it better? And that was my whole thing, is that I knew how it was being taught to me, how I was looking at it on YouTube. It wasn't how I wanted it. You understand what I'm saying? So I knew I had to search harder, deeper. So I came up with my thing. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I came up with my thing, with my solution. And I tell you, my mind is blown because I don't know squat, Stefan. I don't know squat. I don't know my bottom from my elbow. I just don't. So what the heck am I doing making copper rods and creating an organite matrix that does what it does? And I'm telling you, you have to take my word for it. My matrix does everything. It does everything. And I and again, it's coming from me. I don't know my ass from my elbow. But I've come up with this organized matrix that does everything. And I vibrate. My wife and I's vibrations have been risen. So I won't say so high. I want to say so high, but again, that sounds too pretentious. But and this is me saying this. Our vibrations have been risen high, and I know this by the crystals that are now coming into our energy field. By the crystals that are now asking to be put into the matrix. You know what I mean? So, man, I could tell you some stuff about our third eyes, our pineal glands just bumping, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? I've seen the change in our environment and how it's helped ground us. And from there, we've been able to raise our vibration. And from there, we've been able to go on to other things. And talking about learning your trade, I've learned to look at patterns. So I've noticed that how I can tell that our vibrations have been raised is by what we receive. And if we want a mansion, for example, right, then we have to raise our vibration to that. Otherwise, it's not going to come. We can't just wish for a mansion forever until we raise our vibration to what we're going to receive, and then it's going to come. I mean, I'm saying this to you guys. You guys are bloody hell. You guys are way above, top spiritual folks. So you know all the stuff. But for me, it's new. For me, it's brand new. So I have to get my head around this, and I realize that you can't just do the diet, because in these modern times, you've got to change the environment.
Yeah.
And how we do that is through crystals. Through crystals and minerals and blah, blah, blah. Me, I don't know squat. I don't know anything. I'm just going on my gut instinct here. Yeah. I'm learning the stuff by going out and getting it, and then reading up on it.
It looks cool, yeah. And if it works, then you're doing something right.
I'm doing something right. You know what I mean? And it's enabling us to move forward. It's enabling us to move forward. So that's what I'm saying to you. The food is not enough. You've got to change your environment, and that loosens you up to deal with the emotional stuff. That loosens you up to stay grounded. So you're not flapping in the breeze when the emotional stuff comes. You're not creating turmoil and trauma when the emotional stuff comes, because you're grounded, because you've changed your environment. Yeah. It's revolutionized our journey, our path together. Because my wife is actually learning the game now. She's learning the whole making yourself better thing, the personal growth thing. So she's changing her diet. She's going through the emotional turmoil. She's going through that. So I have to being a man, I have to be the one responsible, the captain of the ship. So I'm the one that's in charge of creating these things. For us, for her. You know what I mean? And that's a huge honor for me. So I see that's the role that's been placed upon me. So I do it without asking no questions. If I don't know what to do, that doesn't matter. If I don't know what I'm doing, that don't matter. I have faith in my higher self. I have faith in my higher self. And now I am able to look back on stuff that I've made, and knowing that other people can't do what these things can do. Other people's stuff, that are on YouTube or that have huge websites, they haven't figured out how to do what mine can do. That amazes me, man. That blows my mind. So that keeps me in the game. You understand me? That keeps me pushing harder. That keeps me understanding I've got to stay grounded. I've got to work for me and my wife, for us both to stay grounded. I've got to make sure we do that so we get our job done, whatever it is we came on this planet to do.
Yeah.
So that's what that stuff's about, and it's amazing. It's all kinds of crystals, and as I said, it's crystals that come to me in the night, or it's crystals that speak out to me within my research. And yeah, it's wonderful because I get to test them out. I get to see how they work. I get to see the truth. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey to bring the crystals in and to bring the earth, the magnetism of the earth, the energy of the earth in, and it's made me realize that we need to connect with nature in these modern times. It's not
Yeah.
enough. It's not enough just to deal with the food.
Yeah,
It's
we have
it's
to learn from our ancients too, I know that you are from UK and you in UK have lots of dolmens and stone structures from our ancients, with crystals and everything, and they're aligned to ley lines. So
yeah.
maybe during your cleansing process you went through, maybe you were visiting those stones and how you felt, touching them in that crucial point of your life when you were cleansing.
I've always been into that stuff. I've always been open to that stuff. But as I said, I don't delve into it unless I need to, unless it's critical for my development.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't go there. But I know for sure. I mean, I got a pair of dowsing rods, copper dowsing rods. I love pendulums, and since having the role of doing this for me and my wife, of changing the environment for me and my wife, so we can move forward. I've grown to appreciate subtle energies even more. I've grown to appreciate crystals even more. I don't feel at this point my frequency is high enough to deal with the ley lines and get into all that, but uh, I know that I get into stuff if it's critical for our development. If I need to know something right now, you know what I mean? That's what I get into. That's what gets presented to me. But yes, I'm into all that stuff. I'm not into the whole astral traveling and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it's not something that I focus on because it's not something that I need to focus on.
Yeah, I was just asking that question because I myself personally felt like when I am near those stones, when I touch them, I feel how my body is, just, it's not like something is helping me, but like I'm aligning to myself more, as if those crystals, those stones, and the area of them are helping me to
I
go
know
deeper
what you
into
mean.
myself.
I
Yeah.
know what you mean because it was presented to me, I think last week, to make copper pyramids.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, making copper pyramids. That's just crazy. What am I doing making copper pyramids? So it was something that came to my wife as she was meditating with one of my copper capsules on her third eye, if I remember right. So she came up, said she had a vision of meditating in a copper pyramid. And I was like,
Wow.
oh man, okay, crap. What am I gonna do with this? It's like, okay, I have to be obedient. I have to be obedient. So I said, okay, well, I think we can make that work. We can do, I worked it out in my head. Through making the copper capsules with the caps, I knew what connections I could put together to make a copper pyramid. And I thought, well, I can always go on YouTube to figure out the logistics of it all, to figure out the little stuff. And within 5 minutes, we was out going to the DIY store to pick up pipes and connectors and, you know, to bring back home so we can have a copper pyramid, or my wife could have a copper pyramid. So I understand exactly what you're talking about, Christina, because we have that here in the house. In fact, I'm actually talking to you under a copper pyramid.
Wow. Wonderful.
So it's awesome. It's awesome. So,
Yeah.
you gotta touch base with that. You gotta touch base with that and connect with that, with whatever gives you strength. With whatever gives you strength, and at the same time, you've got to make sure you're grounded. You know what I mean? I can't stress that enough. Being grounded. I'm a great fan of the black stones, the black crystals, obsidian, the shungites, the black tourmaline, the black stones, for grounding. Oh man, yeah, it's gosh, and the difference is incredible. I've never been one for not being grounded, but I know other people that are. I know other people that are, and I know people that when they've come into contact with my capsules, it's a different ball game. It calms them down, they're a lot calmer. They're a lot more conscious. They have a lot more focus. They have a lot more clarity. You know what I mean? So I know that stuff is legit, and I know that it's a major key for us is to get grounded. We tried the whole earthing thing. That wasn't strong enough. That wasn't good enough. We had to go to the crystals.
Yeah. I have a bunch of crystals around me all the time, and believe it or not, right now I have a shungite sitting right on my laptop here.
Oh, that's the business, man.
Yep.
That's the business. What do you have, the elite or the regular? The black one?
It's black. It's tumbled, and it's from Russia, I think.
They're awesome, man. They're awesome. Shungite is awesome. Shungite is the business, man. I'm telling you.
Cleansing.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's awesome. You want to surround your house with it. You want to fill your house with it. You need to saturate yourself with the energy.
Yeah, I do little grids in the rooms. Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking like saturate yourself, man. I'm not talking about little grids. I'm talking about saturate yourself, man. Saturate yourself with the energy. Your home, literally saturate your home with the energy. Because the grids with certain stones is not enough. In fact, the grids with certain stones ain't gonna do squat. Not against a whole house that's wired with electricity.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So you gotta make sure that what you have is actually strong enough. And because the thing is, what happens is that you might have a grid, but then you might have a laptop within that grid. And you turn it on, and that laptop has its own channel where it's pumping out EMF.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Where it's pumping out the positive EMF. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you can have a grid, but the moment you turn on an electrical appliance, that electrical appliance is still pumping out crap.
Yeah.
So that's
what
you got.
Move.
That's what you got to be. That's what you got to be careful of. What you need to do is get a situation in your house where your house is covered, so that when you turn something on,
right,
the energy that's coming off it is actually the healthy energy. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by you got to saturate the house. You really have, because that's something that I found out with my testing with the pendulum, is that you can have a grid, but if you got an electrical appliance that's switched on, you will have a space that's say it's a laptop. You will have a space around that laptop or within that laptop that's pumping out crap, going up and down.
Yep.
Yeah? Your grid might cover outside that laptop, but within that laptop, going up and going down, you have energy that's not healthy for you getting released, generated. So with grids, you got to be real careful, and especially with stones like shungite, because stones like shungite is not good for Wi-Fi. It's not good for laptops. It's not good for Wi-Fi. That's my personal experience. It's not good for Wi-Fi. You need something different. It's not good for Wi-Fi. So be careful with the shungite. On a personal level, keeping it on you is better.
Yeah.
But having it on electrics and stuff like that, in my personal opinion, just the raw shungite It's some, especially Wi-Fi or laptops. It doesn't seem to do anything. So I would, if I were you, I would probably rather have it on you and keep it on you at all times, as opposed to making a grid.
Yeah, I have it in my pocket most of the times. I'm not, when I'm sit here, I just play around with them.
Right. But yeah, changing your environment, man, it's just as important as anything else now. I've learned, because these days, man, the food's not enough. The food's not enough, and the cleansing, even to some extent, the cleansing's not enough. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just an avalanche of crap in this society now.
Yeah, it's got to be a wholesome approach for sure.
Yeah.
Well, man, that's great. Wow, there's a lot that we covered here. I think
This is nothing, man. This is nothing.
Well,
this is nothing. Seriously, man. You know what I mean? This is absolutely nothing. The topic is so expansive, and it's there's so much to this, and everyone is there. The way I see it is everyone is their own personal universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like everyone, and I hate to say this because I feel like I'm being a spoil sport, but everyone needs to stop trying to help everyone else and deal with themselves and go through their crap. Go through their crap and deal with themselves first. One of the things, because I don't do many interviews, and the reason is I found that over the years people got more attracted to me than they did the information.
Yeah.
And people stopped paying attention to themselves, and that hurt me. That hurt me physically and emotionally, because it's not my job to be the center of attention. And I've seen so many high profile gurus, get trapped into that arena of being a celebrity. And everybody to me is their own universe with their own things to deal with their own path. And it needs to be, you need to give your path the respect it deserves, the respect and dedication it actually deserves. And nobody, to be honest with you, all I can say is my stuff, is my personal stuff. And if I want to believe that I have information that's going to help anybody, I'm a fool. Because the information I have is actually for me. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. When my higher self gives me information, it's not for anybody else. It's actually for me to deal with. It's for me to listen to. The trouble is with the gurus, they get the information, but they want to spread it to everybody else to make themselves look good or to get an income or whatever. You know what I mean? But generally, if we could focus on ourselves, I feel the world would be a better place, and stop looking at gurus, stop looking at celebrities, and actually have more faith and trust in our own higher selves to give us the right things. Just like me, when my higher self brought the salt water flushes to me, I felt, oh, you know what? Well, I'm going to try everything else just in case. I could have saved myself a whole lot of trouble just by listening to my higher self and trusting and receiving the gift it gave me to move me forward. But no, I decided to try everything else and not be obedient, and it blocked me up. So I had to learn from that. Okay, don't do that again. Listen to your higher self. When your higher self gives you something, use it. Don't question it, use it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is a very expansive topic. But if you're done, you're done.
Yeah. We have everything. We have our bodies, and we have just to listen to the body itself, and give all the credit to our bodies to follow the journey. So thank you, Jericho. It's amazing. It just was really wonderful talk. Genesis, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was really phenomenal. Yeah.
Well, I hope it helped. Yeah, hope it helped, and hope it helps somebody. But generally, yeah, you got to look at your own path.
Right. And if we just all did that, right? If everybody
It's hard to
cleaned in
do.
front of their own door, then the world would be.
Yeah, it's hard to do though. It's hard to do, especially in these times with YouTube, Instagram, all this stuff. Everybody wants to look good. Everyone wants to be the center of attention. But you know,
Yeah.
if everybody, you know, that really wanted to be better people, actually looked more to themselves, even at stuff they don't want to look at. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Even at stuff they don't really want to look at, then you know, you live and learn. Yeah, you might need a helping hand, you might need support, you might need a kind word, you might need somebody sharing their experience, but don't forget that you need to prioritize your experience. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I've learned a lot from watching other people and watching their mistakes on top of my mistakes.
Yep.
But I make sure that I focus on myself. You know?
Yep.
And now up to this day, I really focus on listening and being obedient. You understand what I'm saying to you? Even if it goes against what I want to do, I be obedient because I know what is coming through from my higher self. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's you know, yeah, it's this path thing, this spiritual thing, this personal growth thing. It's personal, and it's more personal than people probably want. You know, if people realized how personal it was, a lot of these gurus would be out of business. You know, so that's the problem. Is a lot of this stuff is actually a business, and it's very difficult for people to. Man, it's very difficult for people to survive in this society, doing what they want to do. Even me, I do coaching, but I realize, you know, it's difficult because in my heart I know that what I know is for me.
Yeah.
So I coach in a different way than maybe other people do. You know what I'm saying to you?
Right.
I don't tell people what to do. I'm mostly a mirror for them.
Right, and you take that information from a different angle than anybody else,
Yes.
and that is
Yes.
you know, that is what we have to learn, and only through our own experience can we really learn it for ourselves. That is absolutely true, and I think a nice word here to end the show today. Awesome, Genesis. It's really awesome to hear your story. Great story, great conversation. Thank you so much that you took the time to come here and tell us all that. It was I really enjoyed it, and maybe we can do it again in the future.
No problem. I hope it's. I really hope it's lived up to something. but yeah, it's been an honor, a complete honor, and I hope it's helped in some way or another. And it's great to connect with you guys, Christina, Stefan. It's great to connect with you guys.
Hey man, thank you so much.
Yeah, love you, brother. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, you too.
Much love and
much love.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.
Genesis, скажи, в чем твоя самая сокровенная мечта? Чего бы ты хотел на самом деле?
What is your fondest wish?
My fondest wish is for people to be free. and for people to understand what it takes to be free. The freedom I have is blissful. It's amazing, the freedom I have, the liberation I have. The only problem for me is that I still feel like I'm in prison because there's not many others that are free. So I'm still contained in this prison with these people here because, you know, I can't get help without them. So if they're not free, then I'm still not free. So my fondest wish is that everybody gets free. Everybody has the chance to experience the liberation that I feel. Because once everyone else gets free, then we can all grow together. And the liberation that I feel will be unimaginable if everybody else joins me. So that's my fondest wish, is not just for myself but for other people, is for everybody to understand that we can be free. We don't have to do the shit that we're being told that we have to do by governments, by politicians, by pharmaceutical companies, by corporations. We don't have to do this shit. You know, we might mess up along the journey, but hey, so what? We mess up, we start again the next day. But we do not have to do what we are told by these people that we don't want to do the shit they're telling us to do. We don't have to do it. We really do not have to do it. But for some reason, people feel that they cannot stand up as a unit and be one and take control. For some reason, you know, the many want to be controlled by the few, when really we have the power, you know, to dictate to the governments, not for the governments to dictate to us, because they're supposed to be serving us, but they're not. They're serving themselves. So, you know, I really do wish and I hope in my lifetime that the people can take back control, and, you know, we can live in a society where our needs are taken care of and just not the needs of the few.
На твой взгляд, люди жили без еды раньше, или это скорее представляется эволюционным новым шагом?
From your point of view, were people food free before they have started to eat?
Obviously.
Or this is just...
Of course people were food free before. I mean, we invented this process to eat food and to eat processed food in the first place. You know, we invented the process to flavor it, to season it, to make it taste good, so we will continue to eat it. So, in my opinion, you know, like I've said before, the fruits and vegetables, they have a life of their own. They're nothing to do with us. They grow because they grow by themselves. We don't control their life force. We don't dictate how they, well, we do dictate how they grow, but they have their own community, they have their own life, they have their own, their bodies have their own process to grow. We have no control over that. So they have nothing to do with us at all. So there's no reason for us to eat them, in my belief system. And I believe we were all food free before. Well, I may not go as far as to say all of us, but definitely people like me were food free before, and we can definitely go there again. But we need reminding. Our bodies need to be woken up, because, you know, right now we're putting so much shit in our bodies that's putting our bodies into a coma, into a sleep. So, you know, once, shall we say, certain people can wake up, then they will realize that they're more than they are told they are, and they can do more than they can possibly imagine. So yeah, I do believe that certain people were food free, and me for one, I believe I am here to be an example, just to bring a message. I'm not here to be famous. I'm not here to make lots of money, although it would be nice. I'm not here to really do that. My belief is that my purpose is to bring a message to the people that are like me, that this is a possibility.
А что произошло в обществе или в мире, что люди стали есть еду?
What had to happen in society and the world that made people start eating?
Interesting question. You know, this has just come to me and I'm really excited about it actually. I believe that, and you are the first people to hear it. The first people to hear it. I believe that humans came to this planet. We're not of this planet. I believe we are aliens. I believe humans came to this planet food free, with no need to eat, no need to drink. Alright? Their bodies control everything and they are their own universes and we are self-sustaining. I believe we came to this planet and we copied the animals. I believe we copied the animals. We saw animals eating, so we thought, oh, let's eat. And I believe that's what happened. I believe that, because people always say to me, oh, well, animals eat and, you know, blah, 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 blah. I believe we copied animals, not the other way around. Because if, for instance, if animals eat the food that humans eat, they get the same diseases that humans get. So I believe it's we copied the animals. We saw them eating, so we're addicts. And I believe, for whatever reason, I believe the concept of eating has been abused and manipulated by the corporations, and we've been conditioned to maintain the cycle of sedation. By being conditioned to believe that we eat with love. We don't eat with love. Eating causes destruction, nothing else.
А вот если пойти глубже, да, и дальше, то почему мы оказались здесь, да, и где мы должны были бы быть, если не здесь?
Going deeper into that reason, why did we come to that planet? And if we are not here, where should we be?
Who knows? Hell knows. I don't believe that we came to the planet to learn lessons, and I don't believe, because fuck me, that is, if we really came to this planet to learn lessons, then we really must have been bored. Wherever we're from, we must have had nothing to do, because, you know, there's better ways to enjoy life. And also, if we came here to learn lessons, what are we learning them for? You know, when we go back to wherever we came from, what are we learning these lessons for? What are we going to use these new experience for? You know, for me, I believe that we're here now, and lessons we've learned on this planet should be used for bettering ourselves now on this planet. Not for when we're dead, or, you know, as all the spiritual people say, you know, you karma. You know, you do good things now for better things when you're dead. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Okay.
We all want to see, we all want to be real, and we're searching when we're finding. We all want to feel the taste of belief, and we search for directions when we meet with our fears. We all want to steer, we want to appear, even in the highest battle, face the unreal. Do you feel the grace of fear? There is no need to disappear. Just take fear and get clear. Oh, Just